Ever noticed how smart TVs used to be like crazy expensive in the past, whereas today you can pick one up for just a few $100? And I was thinking on what was the reason for this? And I read somewhere that one of the reasons is that in the past they weren't able to obtain data from the users. And with the new TVs, with all these smart TVs, now they're able to get that data, whether you're using, for example, the remote control to search something with a mic that's installed within the remote control.
Yeah.
Everything that you do on that TV is used. And basically they sell that data, and that's why they've been able to lower the prices of TVs.
Did you fact check this?
Yes. And it's not just TVs. I mean, think about any service that you use on a daily basis for, stuff that you pay for, and you don't really stop and think as to whether the thing you're paying for is actually worth that much.
Yeah.
Because think of, I don't know, mobile carriers. I pay, I don't know, quite a lot of money every month just to have data and to have, all those features that these mobile carriers promise you. And I never stop and think, like, is it really worth that much? And at the end of the day, all the usages I'm doing, where is it being stored, or how is that information being used by those, for example, network providers?
Yeah. So another, I read an article. It was based on a study that they made. That, for example, when when the weather is really good outside, but you're still having bad internet and there's no general outage in your area, and the internet just, you have packet loss, you have bad upload, good download, whatever. There's just this not good internet. You have bad internet during a specific period of time. It could potentially be data leakage, people stealing data, different hackers, different cyber attacks. But for example, in a country like ours, which is really small and young and doesn't really have that much of an infrastructure when it comes to protecting your data, no one noticed.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, that's fascinating, because I thought I was protected, right? I grew up with a phone, I grew up with technology, but I never really processed and looked at technology and data from this point of view.
And that's where new technologies such as blockchain come in hand, specifically DePIN. It was like one of the most talked about sectors of cryptocurrencies in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And basically DePIN stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. And the idea is that you use real life infrastructures, and basically people provide valuable contribution to a specific network, and that's how it operates. So it's not controlled by a centralized authority. Think of, for example, I don't know, logistics, supply chain. So the idea is that people that are participating in that specific ecosystem are not just consumers, but they also contribute, and at the same time they benefit from whatever the network rewards them with.
I mean, DePIN has been around for years. The only thing is it was never mainstream, because I know projects from back in 2020, no one was really calling them DePIN projects, right?
Yeah, IoT and...
Yeah, they were always finding other words, but then DePIN became, as a term, started getting more traction back in 2024. We were in LCC. We keep mentioning LCC, guys. We love it. We keep mentioning LCC because we met people from the crypto industry that we would not meet otherwise.
Yeah.
And everyone was talking about DePIN and AI. DePIN AI, DePIN AI. I heard about AI prior to LCC. I never heard about DePIN. Although I did a lot of research, specifically DePIN projects, specifically, I mean, I don't know, Filecoin, Helium, Mobile, Helium.
Yeah. And speaking of Helium and mobile carriers, today we have a very special guest joining us today on HodlUp, and that's Frank Mong, the COO of Helium.
Yep, the COO of Helium. And I mean, you probably guessed from the balloons in the back, that's their official emoji that they use. So yeah, let's hop in the call with Frank and let's see where this goes.
Hello, hello, and welcome, Frank, to HodlUp. We're very excited to have you here with us. This is our fourth episode, and the topic of the day was DePIN. And we were going over some of the best DePIN projects currently in the market, and perhaps one of the best when it comes to, especially when it comes to mobile carriers, specifically, it's helium. And we wanted to discuss with you, and if you could share with us what helium is about and give a brief introduction in yourself and on the company as well.
Sure. Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Um, Helium and myself. Sure. I'll start with just myself very quickly. My name is Frank Mong. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Helium Mobile. We are a team that originally founded the Helium protocol, which we open sourced about 7 years ago. My background is more cybersecurity, so I come from about 25 years of cybersecurity prior to entering into the crypto space in 2017. And in that time, when I joined Helium, we were about 11 people. Helium had started in 2013, and we're in the process of, I would say, pivoting at that point. And the big problem that Helium was trying to solve was actually figuring out how to connect Internet of Things devices. So these are like IoT things. I know a lot of people don't know what that means, but they're like little sensors that give you the temperature, detects smoke and fire, or maybe you could track like your pets, like your dog and cats, using very, very small amount of power, and not using cellular was the key. It was just sort of this other signal that can transmit for miles away. What we were trying to figure out was how to actually get a network to receive those signals and to bring it to the internet, back to its owner on their phone or whatever, so that they can, track their things that they couldn't track before. That was the premise of what we're trying to solve. And I think Helium as a company tried to do that without crypto, just a traditional, venture-backed startup company. So the company is venture-backed. It's started in those roots in Silicon Valley. And in 2017, I think the big shift occurred. It was, if you guys remember, 2017 was like when Bitcoin and Ethereum became mainstream. Like you started to see it on the news. Your aunties and uncles would ask, "Hey, you heard this thing called Bitcoin? Like, what the heck?" Like, right? Boomers were talking about it. That's sort of when I would say like more mass awareness was happening. Same for us. We're networking wireless technology geeks, and we heard about it. And so we thought, hey, this network we're trying to build globally, maybe if we could put Bitcoin into hotspots, like access points, we could stick them in there and you can mine Bitcoin, maybe people will be just willing to share their internet and receive these signals from miles away. And so that was sort of the big idea. Turns out you can't use Bitcoin. So we went down this journey of building our own blockchain called the Helium blockchain. It was an L1. And that's how this sort of journey really began for Helium.
Okay, so before we start getting deeper into the more technical stuff, who came up with GG? Because I've seen your Twitter game and I loved your Twitter game. And I mean, who came up with GG and why is it currently in our house right now? Like, what's it doing here? Because it's...
Oh, you have it.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, so then it's a very appropriate question because it aligns with our L1. When we had our own blockchain, we don't anymore. We migrated to Solana, which I think a lot of the folks in the Solana community understand. About 3 years ago, I think we migrated. But before we migrated, within our own L1, we did a lot of work that was similar to other like proof of something L1s. We required something called proof of coverage because we were building a decentralized network. We wanted to make sure that these hotspots that were disparate and owned by individuals could trust each other and talk to each other and prove that. And so we actually had a whole consensus group, and we had this whole proof of coverage model on our own L1. And it almost felt like every 30 minutes you could be elected into consensus group, and you wanted to be elected into consensus group because you wanted to continue to like prove yourself, and you wanted to prove to the network you're real. But when you did that proof, you also earned in mind a disproportional amount of HNT, which is the token. Helium Network token was the crypto that you would get for sharing your internet. And so that part of it was like almost like a lottery every 30 minutes. And so I think when we migrated to Solana works very differently. And so the mechanism of proof of coverage completely changed, and that went away essentially. And so I think it was just a brainstorm I was having with a few folks in our team. Like the person who runs our marketing is Emily Murray. Person running the subscriber business for us is Coco Tang. Somewhere between our conversations, I think a group of us thought, what if we can emulate that proof of coverage, and what if we could emulate the consensus group elections, which essentially is like every 30 minutes of like winning a lottery almost, right? And we thought, and that's just an analogy. So what if we could do that, and we could, instead of using true consensus mechanisms, we just did a really random selection. And so we used Gigi as sort of the prize. Gigi, this plushy goose. You got to put it next to your mic. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Gigi, the plushy goose or duck. We use that as the prize. So I forget what the intervals were, but everyone that was helping us with a cell phone plan that turned on location so that they could share location with us would have a chance to win Gigi. But what they would win is not just a plushie, actually. They would win an NFT of Gigi. And that NFT would represent like a disproportionate amount of tokens, of crypto tokens for that subscriber. So we turned it into a game, essentially, and kind of a promotional thing. But again, it was really, born out of the thought of the old days of our consensus elections.
Yeah, and I think like having some sort of a mascot, like most of the big projects do, is like a really good initiative in terms of bringing the community together. Which brings me to my next point, since you mentioned the transition to the Solana blockchain. How was that transition, anticipated by the community, or what was like the feedback that was, the biggest feedback that you guys received in terms of switching from your own blockchain to Solana?
Yeah, I think it was actually very thoughtfully done, and the process involved the community. So over time, I should mention that Helium, because we open sourced the blockchain, we open sourced the hotspot hardware, we open sourced all the protocol primitives that we created. It's on GitHub, so if anyone's interested, just search Google GitHub and Helium, you'll find it. We had to be thoughtful because we created and built over time a massive community. If you look on Discord, it was like 200,000 people on Discord. I don't know what it is these days, but certainly like it peaked out at 2000. I would say 2021 or 2022. So many people involved. We really wanted to like first articulate our problem, like. Overall, running a blockchain in L1 is incredibly difficult. When we first built the Helium blockchain in L1, we never thought we would get to like 1 million hotspots around the world. We just never dreamed that we could do that. We built the chain that maybe would support 10,000 hotspots. Like we just had no idea. Like when you're a startup and you're trying something, you have no clue. You just have no clue. You're just going to try it and see what works. We got very lucky. It turned out that this thing works, and it blew up to 1 million. The issue was we didn't plan for that. And so our blockchain was actually running on each hotspot. I think we were probably the most distributed blockchain in the world. I think we were more distributed than like Ethereum, because we had like hundreds of thousands of nodes supporting the network. We had to move to a validator model because the chain got so big and so hard to manage. But that was the problem. Our dev team, when we launched, was probably 11 to 15 people. That's the dev team. That same 15 people had to support this chain that was running on 1 million hotspots. Can you imagine that?
And sorry to
Dude,
interrupt,
that's
if I may. Like,
Yeah.
there's in our neighboring countries, and even in our country, well, in Eastern Europe, Southeastern Europe, we have hotspots, helium hotspots. I don't know about now, but back 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I knew people who were running helium nodes, and it was, to me, it was amazing because we're a small country, right? Using this innovative technology. So, yeah, it always amazed me. I'm not that much of a technical person, but just thinking about it, it amazes me how you could scale to that degree, basically.
Yeah, we were all surprised. just to be transparent, we were all surprised. You could see that map on chain, and it's world.helium.com, I think. So if anyone's curious, just go take a look. It's pretty amazing. The problem statement there is we couldn't support it with 15 devs. Like, it was just too hard. The code that we wrote was in Erlang for the blockchain, which is not a well-used language. It was great for speed and performance for networking, but not great from a community support and community contribution perspective. So the code itself made it hard, I think, for anyone else to help us in the community. There's some, I shouldn't say no one did. Some people in the community did help us quite a bit, but it wasn't enough for 1 million nodes. And so we really had to solve that problem. And the team, I think led by Abhay Kumar at the time, went down this journey of looking and evaluating at different L1s. So when we started down this journey in 2017, just for context, in parallel, Toli and Raj at Solana began their journey. They roughly about that time, I think they started maybe in 2016 or so, but their chain wasn't ready. They were still in like early stages of their development when we were looking at the time for a chain. Nothing really could do what we wanted to do in 2017. But by 2021, 2022, Solana's chain had evolved massively. So that was very promising for us, at least, because we know the guys at Solana. But we also looked at a multitude of other chains, Polygon and Ethereum, certainly, and derivatives of that. But there are lots of issues. Speed, cost, like gas fees on Ethereum is just ridiculous. No other chain existed with the speeds of Solana. And so I think what we did was we looked at 3 to 4 chains. We actually put it up to a vote with the community. And the community vote through a process called Helium Improvement Process, or HIPS at the time, really drove us to migrate to Solana. And that's sort of like a TLDR version of that. We met a team that was co-founded by Noah. Noah and his team, I think, did an amazing job of helping us migrate. Again, that was like probably a dev team of like 4 or 5 total, combination of our Helium blockchain team and Noah's team. Not many people, and they did an incredible job in a short amount of time to migrate us over to Solana.
Yeah, and the thing is, most projects that migrate, they don't have that. They don't keep that same momentum after they migrate. But that's an exception, and you're the exception in this case, because I mean, I love builders, and that's why I love Helium. So another question that now that you've migrated to Solana, do you think that, are you planning to grow overseas other than in the Americas? Because I saw some moves into Mexico, I think, South America. So what about Europe or any other place overseas?
Yeah, definitely. I think the only restricting factor for us right now for the Helium network to expand, parts of the network are global, parts of it are not. The cellular components that we want to expand on has been a barrier because, for folks that don't know, when it comes to cellular airwaves, it's highly regulated and it's proprietary. What does that mean? That means the government of that country regulates cellular bandwidth, cellular airwaves. And companies have to buy rights to operate on those airwaves. It's called licensed spectrum. every country has licensed spectrum. Everyone's cell phone typically uses licensed spectrum to communicate to the internet, especially when you're not at home or in your office where there's Wi-Fi. And so we've been like trying to do a few things, building a business that is selling a cell phone plan to consumers directly in the United States. It's a learning process for us. We've never done that before. We're coming up with technology that essentially can replace cell towers and put cell towers in your own homes in a safe way. So this is not like, I'm not talking about crazy cancer causing airwaves. These are safe, proven open sourced airwaves. So we're playing with that. How do you build that network in everyone's business or something like that, everyone's home and business across the United States? So we're learning from that. And really the third piece is, how do we bypass spectrum? How do we bypass government, airwaves? Those are like the three things we're trying to figure out. So you're starting to see some of that play out. Mexico is an example of that. Movistar Mexico is working with us, which you talked about. It's a company that's owned by Telefonica, based out of Spain. Massive telco conglomerate. They have cellular service all around the world, probably one of the biggest. They've decided through Movistar Mexico to, after testing with us for about a year and a half, it took a while, that they will move 2.3 million subscribers to the Helium network, which is amazing, right? In Mexico. So that's fantastic. That's one approach. We're looking at multiple approaches. So that's just one of many approaches we're looking at to expanding globally. We may have another way. I don't want to like set the wrong expectations, but we've tested and tried multiple paths. We will continue to do so. And I'm always optimistic. So I feel like we will find a way to get to Europe, Eastern Europe, other parts of Asia, and in Southeast Asia, North Asia, as fast as we can. Obviously, we want to be global. We don't want to be stuck or bound by traditional regulation or limitations because governments want to make money on spectrum, essentially. That's why, right? And only big companies with a lot of money can afford
and it
those
makes
things.
sense, especially if you look, for example, Europe in particular, with the MiCA regulations and all that chaos that's going on with this new uniform regulation. And a lot of people and companies are complaining and claiming that Europe is slightly losing its potential to be a big player in terms of the future of digital technologies and all that. But yeah, what I wanted to ask is in terms of privacy, because we were discussing earlier with Otis, it kind of feels like some people just don't care about privacy, especially in telecom. Or, for example, even when I'm watching TV, I never think about the fact that that TV provider is probably getting data out of me and selling it somewhere. So how do you make sure that people internalize this idea that privacy is very important? And how do you make sure that it leads to this mass adoption that everyone wants to have on crypto?
Yeah, I'm really torn, first of all, on whether or not consumers, so not us sitting here, I think we probably care a lot about privacy. But I think like if you look at your relatives and your friends who are just on social media constantly, they've been trained to not even think about privacy. They don't realize that the phone that they use, the phone plan that they're on, the apps that they use are all just tracking them, just blatantly tracking them. But not just that, they're taking that tracked information, they're just selling it, right? They're selling it and monetizing it, making money. And you as the person, you're the product. The three of us and everyone else in the world, we're just a product. We're a product that Apple, Google, Netflix, Facebook, TikTok, they all use, right? A whole bunch and hundreds of more. And so I would say the question in my head is, well, do people really care then about privacy? So I think there are a few that do. And I think the mass majority don't, because they just don't know. They're not even aware. And I think the industry that I mentioned did a really good job of training a whole generation of people not to care because they are addicted to the content, right? It is what it is, right? It's not good or bad. It's just how life is and how we've evolved. So what we've decided is, as a phone plan, as a company that's powered by crypto and that's engaging with consumers, is that one, we're not going to sell your information. We just won't do it. We won't advertise to try to make money. What we are asking is we're asking users to opt in. That means you select to share your location with us. And if you do so, you earn rewards. And what we earn is we earn crypto for you sharing location. That's part of how our blockchain works. And what we do with that crypto is we use that crypto to pay for your phone plan, and we use that crypto to pay for the reward system so that you can redeem things like Starbucks, or you can redeem, shoes from Nike or toys from Lego. Like, those are the things that I think consumers can touch, eat, and feel. So crypto value is just built in. You don't have to ask, well, what is crypto good for? You don't need to care. Really, at the end of the day, crypto is just another piece of technology. And what we're going to do is make sure that you see the value in that. From a free phone plan, the McDonald's burger you're getting is free. The t-shirt you got from Nike is free. Like, all those things are all powered by crypto. That's what we're trying to achieve, all without selling your information. And that's the key, right? So I think that's a change in mindset. And I think you can reach people and train them about the importance of privacy if you show them the benefit and value. Just like how the other companies have trained them to give away privacy for free by getting them addicted to the content, right? We have to do the opposite of that. And I think that's the mission and the movement we're trying to create. And it's like, there's multifacets of that. It's to bring immediate value to everyone powered by crypto in a way that they understand it, right? And that could be like a free phone plan or a free t-shirt from Nike. Or it's to teach them that they can own their own cell tower. You don't have to buy it from a central big telco company in your country. You could do it yourself. There's a DIY approach that pays you, that you can earn crypto from. Again, only certain people will be attracted to that, right? The entrepreneurs, somewhat technical people, right? The hustlers, certainly crypto people get it, right? But I think those are the multiple pieces we're trying to layer together so that everyone gets it. We need everybody. I don't know, there's 7 billion people in the world. We need all 7 billion people to do this. If we can achieve that, we change the economics of that entire industry, which is worth, I don't know, $9 trillion, something like that. It's a huge market, right?
It's massive. So yeah, I mean, I do agree that the main issue is onboarding people that don't look at crypto only as an investment, right? Because they don't understand the technology. Personally, if I go deep enough, I won't understand it neither, but I do see the potential that this technology has. But I mean, yeah, that's mainly the issue, onboarding normies, 7 billion people. But like the cloud points that you mentioned, are there any plans to expand this type of services benefits? Because you mentioned many big companies, I mean Nike and other ones. So are there any plans to expand the range of benefits?
Oh, certainly. I think today, we're working with a portfolio of goods and services that's very normie oriented. Like I mentioned, toys and shoes and food, right? That's like your basic needs. Beyond that, I think you're right. We should offer more. So as an example, I am working in the background to form partnerships with phone companies. So you can use Cloud Points to buy a new phone if you want to over time, right? That's an example of additional value powered by crypto. But also perhaps other privacy-oriented services like VPN, encryption. There's all kinds of vendors that have done great jobs of creating consumer-friendly privacy tools that I think we should put on our platform, because I think it relates to what we're trying to push for, which is independence, right? It's all about privacy. It's all about monetizing yourself. Like, you should earn your piece of the pie, really, right? So those are the things we're looking at. Again, we don't want to go too technical because I think we want to be appealing to all, not just a few. And so it's a balance of like technical privacy value, which a VPN software would have. And there's so many vendors out there that are great for that, or a free phone, which everyone would love to have, right? And so those are the things that we're really playing
What
with.
about gaming? I'm a gamer myself, and I know that gamers and crypto people, there's an intersection, if I may say it there. But what about gaming? Have you ever thought about like making these incentives where you can get a console or you can get some different types of games or benefits in certain games through partnerships and through cloud points?
Yeah, for sure. Like if we're talking like PS5s or like Fortnite or something like that, yeah, 100%. I mean, I would love to do that. I play games. So that's the dream. If somehow Helium is on Fortnite or something, that'd be so cool.
Since you mentioned the challenge of having this mass appeal, what do you think like people tend to misunderstand about helium, or what's like one myth that you would want to bust, and clarify to people, something that maybe went viral that was not necessarily the case? Or
yeah, I think we probably have like one thing that's negative going for us, and unfortunately it's crypto. I think the way in which the crypto industry has evolved has dealt with a lot of good and bad, a lot of good facts and bad facts, and those things continue to pile up. But it's like, if you're a normie, it's very confusing. You already don't even know what crypto is. And unfortunately, the last 4 years, the trend has been to only highlight the bad, all the bad things about crypto, right? In the United States, certainly that's coming from our government, which is unfortunate. It's been horrible 4 years. Things have completely changed now with a new administration that's very pro-crypto. But the last 4 years of anti-crypto hasn't helped anybody in crypto, including Helium. Just a lot of bad news and just everything bad. And the weaponization of the government and different enforcement agencies, it's almost like it was creating this culture and mindset that crypto is a scam. There's no one doing anything good. It's not useful. It's just used for people to scam others. And that's, I think, flat out wrong. I think those things do exist. And for the older folks watching this, if you remember when the beginning of the internet happened, lots of scams, no different. Just as much, if not more, scams that drove the adoption of the internet. And so just like any massive technology change or movement, you're seeing that with crypto, you're going to see that with AI. It's just scams always come in because there's always opportunity when companies are trying to figure things out. Scammers look for arbitrage and they take advantage of it. It's unfortunate. I hate that. But in every technology revolution I've been a part of over the last 30 years, I've been in this tech industry, I've seen it over and over again, especially from my cybersecurity lens. Continues today, by the way. Your email scams haven't stopped. You know this. Continues. Email's been around for 30 years. It's nuts, right? So I hate it, but I think crypto itself has to really clean itself up. No one's going to do it for us. And so what we have to do at Helium is we just have to continue to prove and validate. And for us, that's, again, proving value to normies very quickly, making sure they trust and support what we do. They see the value of it, free phone plan, cloud points, all that stuff. But also, we need validation from large, massive enterprises. And that's the bridge we're building with telcos. Even though we're trying to disrupt their entire industry, we're leveraging them as well because they've established themselves for the last 150 years. They're a known entity. Everyone knows Movistar in Mexico. Everyone knows Telefonica in Spain. Everyone knows T-Mobile in the United States. These are known brands. So we've purposefully partnered and made sure that our brand is associated with them so that we're not like an anomaly. We're not scammy. If an old industry that's done lots of validation, they've done lots of social proof, can say, yeah, we're going to use Helium as well. That means something. Like, you can think all you want. You can believe the negative press, or you can believe the negative rhetoric around crypto, but helium certainly could be doing something good and real. That's really what we have to keep proving.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about a book called "There's No Such Thing as Crypto Crime," from Nick Fornox. I think, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. He basically says this exact thing. In every industry, there's going to be crime, right? Crypto is a tool, just like cash is a tool for criminals. I mean, it doesn't make it possible. Crypto doesn't make scamming easier, you know. It's just the technology that they are using today, because people are not really familiar with crypto. So when normies come in, they're easier to target. I mean, I know myself back in 2020, when I just joined the market professionally and I started trading, you know, trying all these new apps, I got scammed left and right, you know, but I didn't blame crypto. I blame myself for researching, you know. So yeah, and to wrap everything up, I mean, do you think we're finally back? Are we finally back? The market pumped, I think 2% in the past few days. So what do you think about the current market? Where is this going?
Yeah, you know, this is probably the fourth cycle I've been in now, ups and downs. So I kind of feel like we are in crypto winter. I don't think we're in crypto summer right now. But I also think it's external factors. So look, I think crypto is not immune to the macro world economic situation. And the one thing, whether you're a crypto investor, whether you're a real estate investor, equities investor, I think the one thing that is in common is any kind of investor really hates volatility. So a good index I look at is the VIX index that just sort of measures volatility in the equities markets. But I think indexes that watch volatility also take into account politics, what's happening in world trade, right? The fundamentals. And when you have, at least in the United States, a president that's being very aggressive with world trade and trying to do things differently, you create a ton of volatility. So these prediction markets have no idea what's going to happen because it's not status quo. If it was status quo, just keep running the models. You can sort of figure out what's going to happen, right? And that's when you start to build momentum. You start to see these runs, whether it's the bull market run in equities or real estate or crypto. I think it's all related. And so right now, we're dealing with a ton of volatility. None of the models work because you got a president in the United States that's super unpredictable. And I think that just creates fear and uncertainty in all people. And when you have that, everything stops. The economy stops to grow because everyone's like, well, what's going to happen? I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't invest. I shouldn't buy. Let me just wait and see. When you're in a wait and see model, then you start to see everything tank, right? Demand goes down. So I'm not an economist. I don't know how to invest, really. I just know I've been through this 4 different times now in the last 7 years, 8 years. And I'm not worried, not panicking, maybe because I'm numb by it now, a little bit dead inside in me, but I'm still optimistic. I still feel like true innovation will always win and it'll play out. I have a huge faith in crypto. I think over time, this will be the way in which transactions occur. Helium, HNT, should be the currency for all data that flows through the internet. That's ultimately what I think we can add to history, what we can add to humanity, is that we can empower everyone to own their own path to the internet, and they should be able to be paid for that versus paying somebody else and being a product.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we said in the beginning, we also believe in the potential of helium. And going back to the market, yeah, we're also become really immune to any sort of news. I mean, World War III starts, it's not like it's going to impact us. You know, we still believe in the tech. But yeah, thank you so much, Frank. We wouldn't be wanting to take any more of your time, and we really appreciate you hopping in and sharing your thoughts and giving us some really insightful insights, basically. And we hope we can meet again another time.
Thank you, guys. Hey, I appreciate the opportunity, and really best of luck to both of you. starting any venture, whether it's podcasts or a tech company, is always difficult. And so I really respect you and applaud you for giving this a try, because you just never know unless you
Yeah.
try. It's a great example of entrepreneurs. Take a look at these guys. Give it a try. Just go do it. Just do it, right, guys? You never know.
Yep, exactly.
Good
Thank
luck.
you, Frank. Have a good day.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, and I love the fact that he was honest about his beliefs when it comes to where the crypto market stands right now. He said we're in crypto winter. Many people are saying that we're in crypto winter, and it makes sense because Trump just recently he didn't rule out the possibility of a recession in the US. And you know what a recession in the US means for
Yeah.
all markets. But one interesting fact that I would like to mention is whenever the US announces a recession, it's already the worst is already over, right? There's like 4 to 6 months left after the announcement that people will struggle in the markets, and then it's up only. And we still have 6 months before November. I'm praying, all my hopes are in November right now because April is here. And we don't have time to go parabolic right now. Summer is always going to be dead, in my opinion. But yeah, let's not talk about price performances. Helium, real builders, real builders. I love that. 7 years into building, many challenges. You heard him. I mean,
Yeah.
10
I mean,
developers.
That's what I like about the DePIN sector in general. I mean, it's just a big community full of builders, and yeah, a lot of things to be excited about.
Personally, I think DePIN is here to stay. AI as well, but AI is a bit oversaturated when it comes to when you compare it to DePIN. But yeah, I mean, thank you very much to you as well, Dran. We want to thank Frank again, and we will see you on the next episode, which will be about something you will never guess because we have to research a bit, what's going on in the market. Have a good day.